It's therefore understandable that some Christians have linked recent events with end times persecution of believers described in the book of Revelation, and so argue that the Bible itself predicts in encrypted fashion that the Antichrist would be a Muslim.
Many prophecy teachers think the Antichrist will be a Muslim.
This Arabic, this is the word for Allah. The point is that the original text of the book of Revelation would not have been in the handwriting style that looks like Arabic.
Is Islam the true Antichrist? Is 666 a warning of Muhammad? Is 666 actually Islam? Then I'm going to go to the one and only Dr. Michael Heiser explaining 666 in the Mark of the Beast. Is there a connection to Islam? Very, very fascinating. I'm pretty sure these views are a little bit different, so I love the different perspectives that we're going to get into this. Let's go.
Many prophecy teachers think the Antichrist will be a Muslim. They point to Islam's global rise and aggression toward Israel. But this popular theory misses critical biblical truths, which I will reveal today. We see Muslim countries turning against Israel like never before. But if someone asks me which Muslim populations concern me most, I tell them those in England, France, and Germany. London has more radical imams than many Middle Eastern cities. Paris has no-go zones for police. And Germany welcomed millions without understanding what they invited in. Today, believers take two approaches to Islam, either fearing it as the ultimate end times threat or downplaying it like any other religion. Both miss the mark completely.
Dang.
To understand why, we need to examine what's actually happening in our world and what the Bible really teaches about the end times. What is jihad? The word means effort, to spread Islam and make Allah's word superior to all others. The Bible tells us in Hosea 4:6, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Many Western leaders simply don't understand the religious motivation behind what we're witnessing. Jihad takes many forms. Immigration is one. Not every Muslim immigrant is a jihadist, but Islamic leaders use immigration strategically to establish footholds in Western nations, starting with mosques, then schools, creating parallel societies. Slowly but surely, they create enclaves where Western laws take a backseat to Sharia principles. There is jihad.
And we've seen that sometimes people try to enforce Sharia law in the United States. I think there's like a Sharia town. And when we finally had our first Muslim mayor, that's what's crazy. Like, that's what's scary. At the end of the day, they don't care how the entire world becomes Islam. And we've seen that from time to time constantly. This is crazy stuff.
Education, teaching children that Islam is the only acceptable way of life. There is economic jihad, boycotting businesses that don't support Islamic causes.
Yep.
There is political jihad, using democratic processes to implement anti-democratic policies. Al Jazeera even calls itself media jihad. That's probably the only thing they say that I don't suspect to be a lie. And there's violent jihad, the most original form, practiced by Muhammad himself.
Yep.
His message of hope was simple: believe that I am the prophet or die right now. This wasn't a later corruption of his teachings. It was his method from the beginning. When we look at Islamic history honestly, we see that its expansion across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Europe came primarily through conquest, not peaceful conversion. The promises to martyrs, those willing to kill themselves and others for Islam, are extraordinary. Bombers are promised a golden throne, 72 virgins, and power to save 70 family members. For a young man who believes blowing himself up will save his entire family, this becomes an irresistible motivation. from child.
In 72 virgins. That's what's crazy, guys. It has to be when Jesus says, beware of false prophets. That has to be one of the main one. So when the Bible's talking about the Antichrist, is it talking about that person? Or is it an Antichrist spirit? But this is all so shocking and mind-blowing. Like the whole situation with David Wood, I don't know if you guys pay attention to that. That's a huge thing. He came out with confessing to some terrible, terrible things. And so many Muslims came at him saying he's like the worst, disgusting person. But the most ironic thing is that their prophet Muhammad committed far worse acts, which is just crazy to think about. The person that they follow, the originator of their religion.
They're shown pictures of paradise with rivers and greenery, an enticing contrast to desert life, and warnings of hell for those who don't advance Islam's cause. Here's something the media won't tell you about: the concept of kuffar in Islamic theology. While Christians see unbelievers as lost souls to be saved, radical Islam sees non-Muslims, the kuffar, as fundamentally worthless.
Dang.
In their view, the kuffar have no inherent rights or dignity. This ideology explains many troubling patterns we see in Europe today regarding the treatment of local populations. Look at the Muslim Brotherhood's logo with two crossed swords and the Arabic word wa'idu, meaning prepare. This isn't just a symbol, it's a mission statement. You see, this word comes directly from Quran Surah 8 verse 60. Prepare whatever you are able of power to terrify the enemy of Allah. They're not hiding their intentions.
I know they say like there will be a time where even the trees will cry out and say that there's a Jew hiding behind the bushes so that they could kill them. That's what's creepy.
Friends, they're telling us exactly what they plan to do. And don't think this is just some fringe group. The Muslim Brotherhood is the ideological foundation behind Hamas in Gaza, the governing policies of Qatar, and Turkey's increasing radicalization under Erdogan. But their reach extends much further than most Westerners understand. They operate throughout seemingly innocent charitable organizations, student associations, and community centers throughout Europe and North America. They've established footholds in major universities, media outlets, and even government advisory positions. Their strategy is brilliant. Appear moderate to Western audiences while promoting radical ideology behind closed doors. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Dang.
And many well-meaning Western leaders have no idea what they're really dealing with. Many assume the Antichrist will be Muslim because Islam has a strong political component unlike other religions. It divides the world into Dar al-Islam, lands under Islamic control, and Dar al-Harb, territories to be conquered. This resembles the Antichrist's global ambitions. The Hudaybiyah Treaty demonstrates this mindset perfectly. In 628 AD, Muhammad signed a peace treaty with the Meccan tribe of Quraysh. For 2 years, he maintained peace while they lowered their guard. Then in 630 AD, he conquered Mecca when they were vulnerable. Modern Islamic leaders still cite this as a model for temporary peace before eventual conquest.
They're even allowed to lie, I believe, if it helps further their trust and further their kingdom. It's wild stuff. But will everyone like Islam? Will everyone love their leader besides Christians? I don't know.
Arafat did when he compared the Oslo Accords to this same treaty shortly after signing it. Despite these similarities, let's examine what Scripture actually says. Ezekiel 38 describes a coalition attacking Israel. Russia, identified as Gog of the land of Magog, Iran as Persia, Turkey as Togarma, Libya, and Sudan. except for Russia, they're all Muslim countries. This coalition will attack the land restored from war, whose people were gathered from many nations.
That's crazy.
Clearly, modern Israel. But here's the amazing part. God himself will defeat them with earthquakes and fire from heaven. As Ezekiel 38 verse 23 declares, "So I will show my greatness and my holiness and make myself known in the eyes of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord." This supernatural intervention will be undeniable proof of God's power and presence. After radical Islam is defeated on the mountains of Israel, the Antichrist will emerge. Here are 3 clear biblical reasons why he cannot be Muslim.
The
First,
Antichrist will emerge after? But wouldn't the Antichrist be a part of that, leading those armies? Don't get mad at me, just asking questions.
a Muslim leader cannot be accepted globally. Islamic leadership requires converting or subjugating non-Muslims. By definition, they must make you Muslim or kill you. Yet Revelation 13 verses 7 to 8 shows the Antichrist receiving worship from all who dwell on the earth, every tribe, tongue, and nation.
Right, that's why I would think like somehow he's able to receive praise from the Muslims. So the only time they would praise him is if he is Muslim. But I don't understand how that would work ever. He would really have to be doing some crazy stuff, like manipulation for the Islamic people, because they constantly say, we can't worship Jesus. Jesus is a man. There's only one God, and God cannot have a son. That's what they say all the time. So what's his thoughts here?
It couldn't happen with openly Muslim leader. Second, no Muslim could be accepted as Messiah by Jews. Yet Daniel 9:27 shows the Antichrist making a covenant with Israel and allowing temple worship on the Temple Mount, something no Muslim would ever permit.
Right.
The very notion of rebuilding a Jewish temple where the Dome of the Rock stands would be blasphemous to any Muslim. Yet the Bible clearly teaches there will be a third temple.
That's crazy.
Third, Islam will be discredited after God destroys the Ezekiel 38 coalition. When Russia, Iran, Turkey, and others are supernaturally defeated, Islam as a dominant world religion will be severely weakened.
That would be crazy. Imagine one day's Islam finally being destroyed. Because I'm sorry, like, Islam is just destroying Christians left and right. That's why when people say the Crusaders were the worst people ever, they were just fighting back against Islamic regime.
Hundreds of millions of Muslims will be searching for answers. This creates the perfect opportunity for the Antichrist to introduce a new religious system to millions of confused former Muslims. Daniel 11 verse 38 tells us, "The Antichrist shall honor a God which his fathers did not know." Not Allah, not the God of the Bible, but something new entirely. This suggests he worships a deity unknown to his ancestors. In fact, Revelation 17 describes a mystery Babylon religious system the Antichrist initially supports before turning against it.
Wow.
Unlike how a Muslim leader would operate. The Antichrist will present himself as a man of peace, not a religious warrior. He'll temporarily support Israel, not openly call for its destruction. He'll unite diverse religious beliefs, not demand submission to Islamic doctrine. And most importantly, he'll arise after God has demonstrated his power against the Muslim nations that attack Israel.
This is really good. The Behold Israel with Amir, not saying I like everything is like super agreeable, but like seems like it, but very well done. I'm interested to show you guys Dr. Michael Heiser's viewpoint and if this goes along with Amir.
To be careful not to let current events distort our understanding of biblical prophecy. Yes, radical Islam presents a real danger to Israel and the world. Yes, it will play a crucial role in end times events as part of the Ezekiel 38 coalition. But the Bible clearly indicates the Antichrist himself will not be Muslim. When we see radical Islam rising today, we're not watching the Antichrist system emerging. We're watching the stage being set for God to demonstrate his power for Israel.
So he thinks that the Antichrist is not going to be Muslim. Very, very fascinating. What do you guys think? But don't go away, because Dr. Michael Heiser here is going to be explaining the 666 that a lot of times people think it's about Islam.
The biblical world is under severe threat by Islamic terrorists. For example, in 2005, there were 1.5 million Christians in Iraq. Since ISIS has taken over that country, nearly all of them have been driven out of the country and many have been killed. It's therefore understandable that some Christians have linked recent events with end times persecution of believers described in the book of Revelation. Some have tried to produce ancient biblical proof for it in the form of biblical manuscripts, and so argue that the Bible itself predicts in encrypted fashion that the Antichrist would be a Muslim. Now, this isn't the same type of Bible code idea that we've talked about before on Fringe Pop, but it is nevertheless some sort of code thought. So does this particular Bible code idea hold water? Is the Muslim identity of the Antichrist encoded in ancient manuscripts of the New Testament? Let's find out. Revelation 13:18 says, "This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
When you read this, you're like, wait a minute. God's telling me to encrypt this and figure out the number of this man? Who's 666? Who is it? We need to find out. And it makes you wonder, are we supposed to be doing that? Can we decide? You tell me.
You can't really see anything from the English. There's no connection apparently there between 666 and anything Islamic. So what is this particular code idea that wants to identify 666, the identity of the beast, the name of the beast, with a Muslim? Well, if we look at a particular New Testament manuscript, a very old one, 5th century, this is Vaticanus, and this portion is from Revelation 13, and specifically it is Revelation 13:18. If you look down at the third line and the third word moving left to right, there is a word there with 3 letters and a line over it. That particular word is actually the number 666, written in Greek hand in the manuscript Vaticanus. You say, well, big deal. What is it about this number that matters for anything? Well, look at it closely. You've got the first letter looks like an X. The second letter really isn't anything that we would use, this sort of vertical squiggle. And the third letter kind of looks like an S with a dot next to it. The dot is actually a scribal mark. If we put, however, below that word, this Arabic, this is the word for Allah.
Oh, sure.
You'll notice that most of this word, the second consonant, reading right to left in Arabic, sort of looks like the middle consonant, the middle letter of 666 in this Greek hand. The only difference really is the way they are turned.
Wow.
Now, if I add to the Arabic a little bit more, a few Arabic letters, and then at the end, the familiar crossed swords of Islam, and then I turn that middle consonant on its side, you can see pretty clearly that we've got a situation where the 3 letters in Vaticanus sort of look like this Arabic with the crossed sword.
Wow.
The Arabic here means Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah. So there are many out there on the internet who look at the writing in Vaticanus and this Arabic phrase with the familiar swords of Islam and say, look, 666 in this Greek manuscript looks an awful like Bismillah, in the name of Allah. And so therefore we should connect the number of the beast with an Islamic terrorist.
That's crazy. For me, when I see that, I see like that's a little bit reading into something that is not anywhere close, because languages are different, and if you see like some type of similarity, it actually has nothing to do with any of it. Like if you hear a word that sounds exactly like a word in another language, they have no meaning. Just because it sounds the same doesn't mean it has the same meaning.
There are other less obvious problems with this visual correlation. For instance, the issue of paleography, which is the study of handwriting. The letter style in the book of Revelation, specifically the portion we read in Vaticanus, is something scholars call the minuscule script, minuscule handwriting. This is not the handwriting style of all first century Greek New Testament manuscripts that are currently known. That letter style is called uncial, and it is written in all capital letters in Greek. Now, Vaticanus is a little bit unusual because it has both handwriting styles in the manuscript, which tells us that two different scribes produced it at different times. After Hebrews 9:13, Vaticanus is written in the much later minuscule hand. Before that, we have the uncial script that all of the earliest manuscripts are written in. To illustrate it, here in this image, we have uncial script. You can see that it is quite visually different than the earlier example in Vaticanus that we saw. We have block letters, capital letters, again, all running into each other. We don't have letter and word separations or scribal marks like we do with minuscule style. It's quite different. Now, the point of all this is not just a paleography lesson. The point is that the original text of the book of Revelation would not have been in the handwriting style that looks like Arabic. If we again go with the authorship of the book of Revelation, the Apostle John, in the first century, by the end of the first century, his handwriting style, as all handwriting styles of all known Greek New Testament manuscripts, would have been in the block letter style, uncial. It would not have looked anything like Arabic, frankly, not even close.
Wow.
Another problem is that Arabic script as we know it, as we've seen it, didn't exist in the first century when John wrote. You can't find it anywhere at all. The Arabic alphabetic script that we've been looking at, and that we're fairly familiar with, is first attested in the 7th century AD, 600 years after John wrote the book of Revelation. That script evolved from something called Nabatean. Again, the point is not a history of ancient languages. The point is that John, the writer of the book of Revelation under inspiration, could not have been reproducing classical Arabic script. It didn't exist.
So he seems like he's on the same page here. He's more talking about the mark of the beast, 666, but it's the correlation is here, you know?
Summarize and conclude a very simple, but in this case, telling thought. Just because something looks like something else doesn't mean that it's the something else.
Wow.
I subscribe on Twitter to a feed called Faces in Things. It's kind of fun. There's a photographer who takes pictures of everyday things, scenes in life, and the whole point of each one is that your eye will see the photograph and think it's a particular thing, in this case a face with some sort of expression, when the thing photographed isn't that at all.
Wow.
We also have a phenomenon known as pareidolia, where we see shapes and images in pictures, in patterns. And our brain sort of identifies the pattern as a particular thing that we know from our experience. But that doesn't mean that what we're looking at is that thing. And that's what we have going on here with the script of Vaticanus, again, the minuscule script of that particular manuscript in Revelation 13:8, and a visual similarity with Arabic for Bismillah and then, of course, the crossed swords of Islam. It is just simply a coincidence, and frankly, not a very good one, because as we saw, two of the required letters really don't look alike. You have to change them.
That's crazy.
You have to do something to them to make them match. And that, frankly, is just never really a good method. And we know that John would not have been writing what looks like Arabic in the first century because of the entirety of New Testament manuscripts going back to the second, first century. It just doesn't exist. That handwriting style literally does not exist. And Arabic itself did not exist until the 7th century AD. So we have here, again, just a visual piece of imagination. 666 does not point to a Muslim Antichrist.
Dang.
Thanks again for watching. Please visit our website for show notes.
Shout out to Dr. Michael Heiser, the late great Dr. Michael Heiser. Still making a massive difference. Love all of his videos. In the middle of reading his Unseen World book. What a blessing. So guys, is Islam still could possibly be a Muslim coming from there? Sure. Yeah. Is Islam 100% an Antichrist spirit? Yes. Is Islam the false prophets that the Bible talks about? 100%. But guys, I would love to know what you think in the comments below, whatever that might be. And also, I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I know we could do it with your help. So thank you so much for all the love and support. Thank you so much for all that you do. Have an amazing day and God bless.